It's about what we can do better in developing and delivering new towns. That, like say, they've been going for, like, certainly since post-war. Milton Keynes, Stevenage have been huge successes, and they've got really well integrated jobs and communities. So it's not just housing. They're not sprawling housing estates where we're building dormitories for people who work in London to travel in and out. They're actually integrated communities. And the infrastructure needs to come up with it. So I think it's really important for the conversation to be with the government delivering the infrastructure, the road networks and things like that. That needs to come up with the council's master plan for the area, and also the developers being able to deliver it.
Enfield has always evolved. So looking back across many years, places like Enfield Chase used to be the king's kind of hunting ground. So there's been natural evolution of Enfield as a place, and I sort of see this new town as the latest stage in that evolution.
Hello, I'm Toby Fox from 1.5 Million New Homes, the Local Government Challenge, sponsored by Loft and Lovell. So every month I'm visiting a different council to find out what works and what needs to change to get more homes built. And this month I've come to the London Borough of Enfield. And one of the reasons that Enfield has been in the news recently is because it's a possible location for one of the government's new towns of 10, 15, 20,000 new homes. So I've come to talk to the leader of the council, Cllr Ergin Erbil, about whether or not the new town is a good thing for Enfield and whether or not it's deliverable. And we're also talking to Anthony Boden from Lovell and to Tom Conlon from Loft. And what does it mean for Enfield? And of course, will it ever be delivered?
Thank you so much for coming today and for visiting us. I'm Cllr Ergin Erbil. I'm the leader of Enfield Council. I've served as a councillor for Edmonton Greenwood for about 7.5 years, and I became leader of our borough last year.
So you're new in post relatively, and the big news hits the front page. Enfield is on the long list for new town status. The government is planning to bring tens of thousands of new homes to Cruise Hill, north of the borough. Did you greet that news when you woke up that morning with tears of joy or tears of sorrow at all of the challenges and the difficulties that it was going to bring with it?
I think it's great news that we've got such investment into our borough, a vote of confidence from our government, that Enfield can accommodate family-sized homes that we desperately need. And it is great news that Cruise Hill has been longlisted as one of the locations of one of the new towns across the country. As a council leader, I receive over 500 families every month into the Civic who approach us as homeless. As 500 families every month.
500 families every month?
Every month, sadly. And when I became a councillor 7.5 years ago, we weren't getting 500 families a year, let alone a month. So the housing crisis has impacted us significantly. We have many, many young families especially who are unable to afford their own homes, family-sized homes, and we've got many families who are being priced out of skyrocketing rents. So we desperately need affordable family-sized homes in our borough. It's really important that it's a location like Cruise Hill, because in Cruise Hill we have lots of golf courses, we've got some wonderful garden centres and car parks and a train station. A lot of that land is low-grade greenbelt, so I think it's perfect to have homes built there. Some of it will be inaccessible fields and farms that aren't being used anymore. But in addition to all of those wonderful homes, we're going to have over 1,000 hectares of green space rewilded. It's London's largest greenest project. So we're really proud of the fact that we're going to have lots of public parks, in addition to lots of family-sized homes.
And will you have garden centres?
Yeah, we will absolutely have garden centres, GP surgeries, business facilities, public parks. We will have lots of stuff that make a town a town. So the new town will have all of the infrastructure that it would need, schools, leisure centres. So we're really excited about this vote of confidence and investment from our government.
Let's start with the homes then. How do you ensure that the right homes are delivered in that new town?
It's a really good question. 21,000 homes, 6,000 of them are going to be council homes, and an additional 4,000 are going to be affordable homes, genuinely affordable. And it's really important that thousands of those council homes and affordable homes are 3- and 4-bed family homes. Because, as I said earlier, it's the families who are facing homelessness that we need to serve and we need to do right by. those families didn't create the housing crisis. We didn't create the housing crisis. We inherited it, sadly, due to years of neglect by previous governments that did not invest properly in council housing, in affordable housing. We've now got a government who are on our sides, and they are putting their money where their mouth is, and they're building the homes that we desperately need. We've also got thousands of young families, such as mine, who can't afford to buy. You know, I live in a property that I don't own. I've got 2 very small children. It's a tiny flat in Edmonton, and even though I'm born and raised in Edmonton, I love my neighbourhood. It's important that young families like mine are able to get onto the property ladder, not just in Enfield, but across the country.
But it's not just about homes, is it? If you build that many homes, you also have to have an eye on the kind of economic plan for that place to make sure it's not just a dormitory town with people just leaving every morning, coming back every evening. So how do you do that? What's the economic plan for that place?
Absolutely. It's a really good question. We've got lots of jobs being created as well as the homes being built. We're going to have lots of brilliant shops, business facilities, as I said, health centres, education centres. We won't be able to deliver a town if it doesn't have that level of infrastructure. I know there are examples across the country where they've done the homes and they haven't done the infrastructure, or they've done the infrastructure first and then they've built the homes. So we're looking at examples, and we're going to make sure that local voices are at the heart of anything that's built, and that consultation is done properly with all of our residents and local businesses. And it's still very early stages, but I can assure you there will be a proper master plan, like there is with all regeneration projects.
How are you going to ensure that the council has some sort of control over making sure that that happens?
We've made it very clear from the get-go to the government Taskforce and to our wonderful Mayor of London that the council will absolutely have a seat on the table, and they are fully supportive of that. We will have a seat on the table. We will be part of the decisions made, and we will make sure that local residents' voices are heard. But I want to make it very clear, when I do say local residents, I'm not just talking about our wonderful residents who live in the Cllr area. It's about our residents who face homelessness every day, who face the housing crisis every day, who are one missed rental payment away from an eviction notice. I want to capture the voice of all of our residents in our deprived and challenging areas, as well as those who live in the more affluent parts of our borough.
This is something that's changed, hasn't it, recently? I feel that the housing crisis has brought a change in the conversation from what are the wants and desires of the people who live in a place to what are the needs and desires of the people who live around that place and in other places where they don't have a choice over the shelter and accommodation and a healthy life.
Absolutely. A few weeks ago, I had a resident in my office, Mr. Emre. He lives in a 2-bed flat with 6 children, and Mr. Emre can't afford to buy a larger house because house prices have skyrocketed for many, many years. He wants to be able to provide his children with enough space for them to do their revision, to have their privacy, and we know that living in a nice family-sized, decent house impacts mental well-being, impacts the positive growth and development of a child. So it's the Mr. Emres that I want to make sure are served, as well as all of our residents across our borough. Their voice has to be captured.
So we've spoken to the leader of Enfield Council about the possible location of a new town in the north of the borough. We've been building new towns for a long time, since the beginning of the last century, pretty much. What have we learned in that time, Anthony?
I think that's a really good question, Toby. And it's what we can do better in developing and delivering new towns. That, like say, they've been going for, certainly since post-war. Milton Keynes, Stevenage have been huge successes. And they've got really well integrated jobs and communities. So it's not just housing. They're not sprawling housing estates where we're building dormitories for people who work in London to travel in and out. They're actually integrated communities.
Are they really successful though? So Milton Keynes, big traffic problems, and some of the new towns like Harlow maybe not so successful. A big regeneration going on there now.
I suppose it's an evolving piece. The infrastructure needs to come up with it. So I think it's really important for the conversation to be with the government delivering the infrastructure, the road networks and things like that. That needs to come up with the council's master plan for the area, and also the developers being able to deliver it.
And it's not just about houses, you're saying as well. You get the infrastructure, you get the houses, but you also need the jobs, you need the economic development.
Yeah, it's a reason to stay and gives it a place. Otherwise, it ends up as a soulless commuter type place. It really needs something central to bring people in.
Thanks very much, Anthony. Tom, as an Enfield resident, how do you feel about the possible location of a new town in the borough?
I'm really excited by it, Toby. I think the need for housing, has been well demonstrated by so many sources, so many statistics on that. So the absolute need for housing drives the need for a new town. In terms of the Enfield context, Enfield has always evolved. So looking back across many years, places like Enfield Chase used to be the king's kind of hunting ground. So there's been natural evolution of Enfield as a place, and I sort of see this new town as the latest stage in that evolution.
I'm impressed you can remember that far back, Tom.
Well,
but yeah.
Do you know what, Toby? I had a previous life as a history teacher, so I like to bring it out from time to time. So, but no, I think it's just the next step in the evolution of the borough.
Yeah.
And if we go back to kind of some of the key stats, which always need repeating: the number of people in temporary accommodation, the amount of money being spent by London boroughs, over 5 million a day on temporary accommodation. We can't kind of forget these in the debates around new towns.
But what are the challenges to delivering them? So they're a good thing, and this is a good place for one. But do we have the capacity to suddenly build 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 new homes in 10 or 12 locations across the country all at once?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, it's a challenge. I think for me, there's two things in any development project at the moment. There's viability, which we've talked a lot about, and then there's capacity. I think already in the development sector, just to stand still, we need to be, it's about 30,000 development employees due to retire in the next 5 years, and 50,000 in asset management. So just to stand still, we need to bring a whole lot of people into the sector, and then on top of that, to deliver new towns, it's crucial we kind of continue to promote development, continue to promote construction as industries. That's the only chance we're going to have if we're going to get just people in the system to deliver these homes. Fundamentally, right, I guess delivering a 10,000 home new town is much more efficient than delivering 1,000 projects of 10 homes. So in a sense, this is a more efficient route to delivery, and we just got to ensure that every part of the sector plays its part in finding people, training people, getting people in the roles to deliver.
But the phasing of this development, Anthony, is going to have to be very carefully done, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I think it's a tri-party system that you need to have with the local authority leading the master planning, with the government providing the infrastructure, and then developers being involved early so that it can be deliverable, and it's multi-phased, but also, like we're saying, it's got to have. It's so much better to have a longer-term pipeline view. If you've got project security for the next 10 years, you're much more. It's much more of a partnership. And I think that's really important, is to develop everyone's skill sets in a partnership. And then you're delivering a project that everyone can be proud of. Everyone's got the same aspirations for quality and timing on it. And everyone's in it together. And I think it will be a better solution.
We need to get a lot of affordable housing built in these new towns. We're currently struggling to build any affordable housing. How's it going to happen, Anthony? Is it just pie in the sky?
No, I definitely don't think it's pie in the sky. It's a really achievable thing. We're doing it currently, and it's a very, very achievable thing for us to go and do. There's a mix we need to make. A lot of the time, viability struggles, particularly on brownfield sites, because of the amount of abnormals that are in that. But again, if we're involved early, we'll design those out.
Abnormals being like contaminants and...
Yeah, it could be a contamination remediation, or I've got projects at the moment that's got an enormous foul sewer that runs diagonally through the site. Rather than move it, which would cost more than £1 million, we've repositioned the buildings. There's no loss in quality. Everyone's got the same daylight, all the same quality indicators are there, but we've just saved that money and it can be spent elsewhere, and that means we can build another 3 or 4 units on that development without sacrificing that cost.
Thanks, Anthony. Tom, what's your view on getting the housing mix right and the deliverability of all of this? How fanciful is it?
Yeah, I think one of the challenges with mix, particularly in affordable housing, has been the kind of grant system of a per unit basis, which makes one bed flats the most viable to deliver. So that remains a challenge. Somehow ensuring that we do get the family homes, we do get sort of larger units to kind of create a real balanced community. So part of it's a grant regime, part of it's tenure. Our experience in sort of selling shared ownership is held up really, really strongly. So ensuring there are tenures where first-time buyers can kind of come into, can access affordable home ownership is really important as well. So I think it's that kind of master planning exercise really to ensure that we've learned the lessons from the schemes Nancy talked about, the new towns Nancy talked about, to ensure that actually we take those lessons and we put them all into mix to get the right tenure mix, to get the right balanced community.
Tom Conlon, Anthony Boden, thank you very much for playing your part in 1.5 million new homes, the local government challenge. So that's it for another episode from 1.5 million new homes, the local government challenge, sponsored by Loft and Lovell. We're going to be back in a few days with more from the London Borough of Enfield. But until then, if you could click like and subscribe, we'd be really grateful, and it means you won't miss any episodes, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you.